Financial freedom is about being able to do what you want whenever you want without having to worry about if you can afford it or not. I'm gonna tell you the steps that I took in my 20s to achieve millionaire status or financial freedom in my early 30s. In my opinion, this is one of the most important things that a human can ever do for themselves. If that is something that you're interested in, ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to miss this video. For those of you that are new here, welcome. My name is Chasse. I have been in crypto full-time for 10 years. I'm an investor, fund manager, and an advisor for many projects in crypto. I think that the desire to become wealthy or financially free is different for everybody, or I should say the stimulus or the catalyst. For me, I just found that I really enjoyed making and earning money because it did give me the freedom to do things. I started hustling. The moment I could, I asked mom and dad, hey, what other chores can I do to earn more money? And they gave me a list of them and I just did more work. Also in middle school, I had my first stint in entrepreneurship. We had this ice cream shop, a local ice cream shop, and everyone at my middle school would get these candies. They were called Raven's Revenge. Little $1.25 for this like test tube full of powdered sugar that turned your mouth colors when you ate it. So I figured out how to kind of recreate these things. I was able to resell that for $1. So I undercut the competition by 25 cents. I made it convenient. They could just get it from me at school. That was going really well, making like $10, $15 a day. And it was literally just Gatorade powder. The cost was nothing. The overhead was nothing. And, but that was short-lived as the principal from the school called me in the office and said, Kyle, I really appreciate your entrepreneurship, but you just can't be going around selling baggies of powder at school. Okay, so that was the first failure, but I learned from it, right? And that's one of the most important things going forward in this whole journey. You will fail at what you try doing. So just get ready for that. Statistically, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Startup businesses fail. So if you really want this, and I hope if you're still watching this, you do really want this. That means you have to be prepared to fail 9 times before you make it. So ask yourself going on this journey, are you ready? Are you willing to fail, fall down flat on your face? And that means ego. That means, emotion. That means discouragement. Are you willing to pick yourself back up, learn the lessons from the mistakes that you made, and start thinking about what you're going to do next? All right. And before we dive into the meat and potatoes of this thing, the top 7 things that I did that you can do too, is I want to share a couple quotes with you, right? The first one is just remember, this is important. Every journey begins with a step. And what that means essentially is that every single day, you should take at least one action that gets you closer to what your goal is. Every single day, make sure that you're doing one thing, even on days that you just don't feel like getting out of bed, even days that you're sick. Doesn't matter. Do at least one thing every day that gets you a step closer to accomplishing your journey. The other one is motivation is temporary. So a lot of you feel like you need to be motivated to do all this great stuff. While motivation helps, what I find gives you motivation is discovering your why. Discovering, why it is that you do. That is your motivation, right? So to forget like all of these Tony Robbins things. And while they are interesting, right? That is such a temporary fix to what you're trying to do, because all the time people will go to these events and get super hyped, motivated, and like just walk out feeling like $1 million. And maybe they have some drive for like the next 3 to 10 days. But unless you have conviction, unless you know why you're doing what you're doing, if the why is always at the core of your being, that is the motivation. Even on days that you don't feel motivated, you look back at why, and then you realize what you're doing. That motivates you. So what drove me the whole time wasn't motivation. And yes, there was times that I did like watch Tony Robbins, but it was a very small part of my process. Most of it was what we'll get into about investing in yourself. Now let's go over the 7 steps that I took to help me achieve this goal and see if maybe you can apply it to your life as well. So the first thing, and you've probably heard this from multiple people, but I'll tell you how I perceive it, is invest in yourself. It's the first thing that you need to do is build your foundation. So if the goal is to get to financial freedom, how do we get there from where we are today? So I believe that you need to set some type of general foundation for you to work from. And that means educating yourself. So like I talked about before, binging on books. And, there's a million websites that you can go to where you could Google, the best books for financial success or how to invest or whatever it is that you want to do. And, for me, the ones that stood out were Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the whole series. That was like a really big foundational understanding, and it was very valuable. Failing Forward is a book all about stories from people who had major failures and what they did to move forward, what they felt like internally. And if you read this book, you can probably relate to a lot of the stories, and it's really inspiring and really helps break down that block in your mind about at least taking the first step forward to trying, right? Remember, we talked about you have to be willing to try and fail many, many times before you succeed. This next thing I'm about to mention might not be feasible for you right away, but when you can afford it, when you achieve some degree of success, and make sure that you actually can afford it, probably the best thing that I spent my money on until today as well is hiring an assistant. So the second that you hire an assistant, all the things that you don't like to do in life, they can handle for you, which is like not only an incredible amount of time savings, but anxiety savings. And like, it's incredible. This is, for me, one of the best things I've ever done. And as you grow in your career, you can also get different types of assistants. One, a personal one that runs errands, does all the stuff I talked about. And then also executive assistants, right? Or personal assistants that help you in the workplace as well. So this is critical and definitely something that I would suggest, rather than going and buying a new car or like Starbucks 5 times, like just hire an assistant and still be conservative at this point, right? So number 2 on the list is to develop multiple streams of income. Now, depending on where you are in your financial state right now, that could either mean investing in things like real estate or crypto. But for a lot of you watching this, you might not be at that place yet, because surely you don't want to invest in something super volatile like crypto if that's kind of all your extra money, right? Because right now we're talking about securing yourself to be in a position then where you can either invest in real estate or crypto, things like this. So that is getting multiple streams of revenue or income. Now, if you have a job, well, then you're probably working 8 hours a day. And if you don't have a job and you're struggling, I feel for you. And the most important thing that you can do right now is to secure yourself to where you have at least food and shelter taken care of, right? And that is your basic survival. So you can't even think about these things that we're talking about in this video until that is solved. So I understand, right? And do what you need to do to make sure that you are covered on at least your basis. Then after that, you can apply the things we're about to talk about to your life. So point number 3 is save to invest. Don't save to save. Now, this is a radically different mindset than most of us grew up to believe, right? Most of our parents, certainly our grandparents, were taught to save, right? Put cash under the mattress for rainy days or just hoard it, right? And when they were growing up, it made more sense with an annual inflation rate of 2%. And back in the day, believe it, in the 70s or 80s, just putting your money in a bank could earn you 10 to 14% yearly interest. That's phenomenal, right? So it made sense. I mean, 10 to 14% is really, really good. It would make sense back then to be able to put your money in a savings account and just save. Like, that made a lot of sense. But with today's standards, guys, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, I can't even stress this enough to my parents. Guys, you've got cash sitting there for rainy days. You realize that cash, the purchasing power, is decreasing probably somewhere in the tune of 20% right now a year. Like, so if your money is not working for you, it is losing spending power or value. This is really critical, especially in today's age, especially now in the past 2 years. At a baseline, your money should be earning you at least 10% a year just to not lose purchasing power at a minimum. So this is really important. And this is a rapidly evolving kind of idea here where that's likely going to be the case moving forward. And finding places to put your money and to earn 10% a year on it is quite difficult. The best hedge funds on Wall Street are earning somewhere between 10 and 20% a year. Even Warren Buffett historically has earned on average 40% on their money year over year. And that's the best investor that Wall Street has ever seen, right? I mean, in crypto, we're typically doing much better than that. But anyway, I digress. It's not really realistic. So what would I do if I was in this position right now of how to make my money work for me and I need to start from somewhere? It's a difficult choice right now. However, what I have done, which worked for me extremely well, is I dollar cost averaged everything I earned. I put into Bitcoin from the early days up until now. But something that is more tried and tested and true is something like investing in precious metals, like gold, or silver or copper. These things you can still buy on the open market. And when it comes down to hedging against inflation, putting your money historically in something like gold, Maybe it hasn't done as well as Bitcoin from a price performance, but it certainly has held its value. Things like Bitcoin or precious metals, there's even now people, and this might be a little bit early, but I haven't looked into it to be honest, but there's even people who are doing fractionalization of real estate. So today I would suggest it. I do think that the real estate market is in a bubble, but this could be a perfect opportunity because people are now fractionalizing, like let's say a house or a commercial building into 10,000 or more, little fractions of ownership of this commercial property, where that's a cool thing to do, right? So maybe for $100 or $1,000, you can own a fraction of this real estate. This has never before been possible. These are different things that you can look at for storing the value of what you earn. The next point is that you need to, on a regular basis, I mean, at least on a minimum daily, of what your goals are. And in order for you to have goals, you need to write them down. You should definitely YouTube or Google different methodologies of creating long-term goals and how to break those down into more actionable short-term steps, right? So maybe the end goal is like, where do you want to be in 10 years? And then what do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be by next year, next month, and then the next week, and then today? And that helps you to achieve your long-term goal by breaking them down into actionable things that you can do day to day to achieve that long-term vision. Going through magazines, going through online things, Pinterest, whatever, because it's really important that you kind of put what your desires are into something you can visualize and look at it every single day. Put it by your desk, put it in your car, whatever. And this might be things that are like material things that you want: cars, watches, houses. Maybe you want to retire your parents. Maybe you want to fall in love with your perfect partner in marriage and family, your white picket fence, your dogs, whatever. Everything that you want in life, put it down so you can visualize it. Imagine, and take the stupid guy or the stupid girl's face off of whatever that picture is from the magazine and put your own face there, right? And put your dream girl or your dream guy's face on that body, right? Like, this is your vision board. This is your thing that's going to help drill in your mind every single day why you're doing what you're doing. Right? It's really, really powerful. Another thing I used to do is affirmations. Now, they seem silly at first, but guys, the mind is a very powerful thing, right? So I just got a bunch of index cards, like 4x6, and I wrote in there, like, I am very successful and have created my dream job. I'm in great health and check out perfectly at any physical doctor's checkup. I'm in an amazing relationship where honesty and integrity and love exist. Make sure you go through that. Keep them in your pocket, keep them in your purse, keep them, on your desk, and just look at those and say them out loud to yourself in the mirror, preferably multiple times a day, and believe those cards. Believe them. This is very powerful, guys. This is not some hocus pocus kind of thing. This is what professional coaches for Olympic athletes use. Visualization. Not only that, the coaches will come with the athlete, sit down and say, now close your eyes. This is like a lot of practice. Close your eyes and visualize, what does it feel like when you come out of the blocks on your sprint, right? What does that first step feel like? Can you feel the explosiveness from your muscles? What does your peripheral look like? Is there anybody in your peripheral? Are they ahead of you? Are they behind you? And then what does it feel like? What kind of emotion? What do you feel like when you duck forward and you're the first person across the finish line and you get first place? What does that feel like? Who comes to greet you and congratulate you at the finish line? Is it your parents? Is your boyfriend or girlfriend? Like, the motion that you get, like, this is incredibly powerful. So you can do the same thing. Imagine what it's like when you realize, because some event happens, something you've invested into now has a value that got you to the point and where you wanted to be to financially free. Like, picture your eyes, close that. If you're going to start an online business, imagine what it feels like when it has traction, when you hit a certain goal. Maybe you want 1 million users on it. Imagine when that ticker, your user count gets to 1 million. How is that going to feel? How are you going to be perceived around your coworkers, your employees, your staff, your business partner? How is that going to make you feel? How are they going to feel? Are you guys going to be celebrating? Like, you have to visualize this stuff because it is way more powerful than you might imagine. If you're not doing these things, how are you ever supposed to get yourself motivated enough to want to perceive them? Because again, things will get very difficult. And unless you know what it's like to succeed, and you can do that through visualization, you might get knocked down and not get back up again, right? Which is what happens to people all too often, which is what I do not want to happen to you guys. And these visualizations, these vision boards, this is probably what enabled me to just literally just dust my shoulders off when I got knocked down, pick up the broken pieces, learn the lessons, and start with the next thing. The next point, I love this one. So you've probably heard people say things like, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, something like this, right? And what we're trying to say here is that you want to surround yourself with people that you want to be like. So my goal when I was younger is I always tried to find people way smarter than with me and be friends with them, hang out with them, like come into meetings that they're having. Like the people that I surround myself with, I want to be smarter than me, so I learn from them. One of the most important things you can do, even if your goal is financial freedom or not, but just to be happy in life, is cut out from your life any kind of cancers that you have. Now, what I mean by cancer, I mean negativity. This idea of getting negativity out of your life, definitely you need to do that mentally, and that is a lot of work in its own right? So maybe that is going to a life coaching thing, or maybe that is going through some life coaching, or really just meditating, figuring out how you yourself can get rid of negative thoughts. But it's a whole nother thing if you got other people inflicting their negativity on you. That is literally a cancer. It's something that you need to get rid of, right? Just get rid of it no matter what. And it might mean hurting feelings, right? Now, someone who's just always bitching and complaining and victimizing themselves that comes to you for advice, maybe you've been friends with them since you were a kid, or maybe it's your brother or your sister or your parents. Distance yourself. I mean, the best thing you can do is just like whoosh, cut them out, right? But if it's your mom or your dad or your sister or brother, maybe you cannot just completely cut them out, but you could definitely push them far enough away to be like, I'm too busy to hang out with you right now. I'm trying to make my life better, right? I suggest you go do the same thing for you. You have to be ruthless, right, in that situation, because they will literally bring you down with them, and you do not have time for this, right? Everything is about efficiency and getting things done when we talk about your path to financial freedom. Because in the grand scheme of life, guys, if you achieve financial freedom, that's the very first step of like your life's success. It is a hustle, a grind, and it is emotionally difficult to hit financial freedom. Hopefully you have fun along the way. But when you do get to that point, the whole world opens up and what you can do. And a lot of people think that you're just gonna, hit financial freedom and all of a sudden you're gonna go like sit on the beach every day and drink margaritas and like not have to do anything. But like, trust me, that's not, if you have the willpower, dedication, and drive to hit financial freedom, you're probably the kind of person that will also be bored once you hit that level. So then it becomes about figuring out what you're going to do next. Now, that's for another time and video. But the point is that you need all of the positivity, the smart people, the influence to help you get to that financial freedom stage. So we've kind of discussed now why it's important to surround yourself by intelligent people that are positive and that will encourage you to do well. Now, you might be saying, Kyle, I just don't have these people in my life. Like all my friends are idiots. They're all negative, and they just want to sit around and play video games all day and talk about girls that they can never get, or whatever the case is, right? So you might be asking yourself, like, how do I surround myself by intelligent people that I want to be like, or that can influence me in a positive way? Well, one of the things you can do is go to meetups, right? If you use a lot of different apps that find different meetups that are happening in your city, it can be around a common interest, right? And usually at meetups, whoever's organizing them will try to get somebody from the industry to come in that is, in essence, a mentor for that meetup that can talk to the audience about something that they're doing. They're typically successful people. And not only that, but at the meetup, you will find other driven people. So the first thing that you do is probably stop doing everything you've been doing in your free time, right? Which means like going to the same places you go to, hang out with the same people you hang out with, going a little bit in something uncomfortable for maybe many of you, play an environment where there's a lot of strangers, and maybe you have the social skills, maybe you don't, but you have to take steps, even if it's uncomfortable, to make this a reality in your life. And usually when you come to these things like meetups, conferences, things that have entrepreneurs there, usually around a common interest, they all want to be successful. They're all working on that. They're all working on the same path that you will be. And that immediately creates that bond. And so, identify like everyone there who you think is really smart, and, try to set up a lunch meeting with them. Try to create new friends and mentors that can be a constant in your life. And the last step I'm going to talk about, guys, is something that I think is absolutely incredibly critical for having a good life, like literally just enjoying life. I think one of the worst ways to go through life is being in a job that you hate and you just ride it out because every single day you're going to wake up when it's a work day, and then the first thing that happens is your alarm's going to go off, and you're going to wish it didn't go off because all you want to do is sleep in all day because you know that what you're going to be doing for the next 8 hours is going to suck, right? And so you go Monday through Friday, every single day that the alarm goes off, you wish it didn't. And then you're exhausted after work because you hate doing what you're doing. And then the weekend comes around on Friday, and you're either so exhausted because your work sucked all week long, Or because you want to forget about how crappy your life is, you just go out and party and like, go out and just drink a bunch or whatever. And then, the next day you're hungover and you rest or you party again. And this is a cycle I see way too many people doing. But it's not your fault. This is what we're taught to do, right? This is the programming in which you've received as far as what is the ideal lifestyle. I believe that one of the best things that you can do in life to make your life as happy as possible is to monetize your passion. So the point of this is that this last point is to ditch your 9-to-5 and be an entrepreneur. This might be very difficult, again, for some of you watching this who literally are surviving paycheck to paycheck. But again, we laid out this path that you have extra time to work on this. Maybe you're not at a stage right now where you can just become an entrepreneur, right? Maybe you don't have that nest egg sitting on the side that allows you the freedom to do that. But we covered things earlier that, side hustles, different things you can do, all the time in your day that maybe you're spending watching TV or something, reality shows that can be dedicated toward bringing in extra income that you save to work your way toward this goal. Just research tons of things. But what I want to get to is when you are at a stage where you can start thinking about what kind of business that you want to create. Again, I believe it's incredibly important if it's online. If it's online, you're not bound to one area. And in fact, if you start it online, you can actually probably move to places that have a much better quality of life, and the cost of living is exponentially less, right? Like if you look at some places like Mexico or Thailand or Vietnam, they're great. Like I really enjoy being in those places, and I enjoy being them more than I do in America, for example. And the cost of living on average is 25, 50% less than it is in most of America, for example. What are you passionate about? When you get to go do this thing, or like you find yourself researching things online already, what is it that you find that like you just have this burning desire inside to like learn more about or do? Maybe you love yoga, right? Maybe you love playing guitar, or maybe you love art, right? And that, my friends, is what I think is the best thing that you could actually do in your life. Because imagine the contrast of what I talked about earlier: waking up, hitting the alarm, life sucks, to you get to go do that thing that you love today and get paid for doing it. You're gonna earn money doing the thing you love to do. Now, I'll give you some context. Like, if you love yoga, if you're just obsessed with yoga, like you can either go teach classes locally, which you might do. You can use one of these apps that allow you to kind of create classes at places and people show up and they pay you for the class. And then you can actually start scaling that, right? You can create your own brand of classes online, and then the brand on classes online can create merchandise, and you can start making a business out of this to where you could literally turn into a yoga empire, right? Like, and maybe you create different little different like an MLM for yoga, right? Where everywhere around the world you create some kind of protocol for it, and you name it something weird, and people start selling that. You can literally create a huge business just to do something you love. And if you can wake up every single day, you're gonna jump out of bed and be excited to go to work that day, because it's not gonna feel like work. Guys, and congratulations, if you made it to the end of this video, you've already taken your first step on your path to success. But what I want you to take away from this is that you can do this. No matter what position that you're in, this is something that is achievable for all of you. And if you wanna do this, I suggest that you save this video. There will be timestamps below where you can revisit any of these things that we've talked about in depth, because it is a lot to unpack, right? So the first thing would be start with that first step. What is going to be the next step that you take? Let me know in the comments below what you're going to do after watching this video. Hopefully one of them is liking the video and definitely subscribing to the channel if you're not already. One of the things that you can do to show your loved ones, your friends and family that you care about them is sharing this video with them. We can all help each other to get there together. If you guys would like me to make more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to. These are things I'm very passionate about. And if there's anything that I talked about that you feel deserves more attention or you want to know more about, let me know in the comments below as well. I'll try to make specific videos about those things. All right, guys, take care.